Hello, beautiful people. Miss Beeching here. In this video, we're going to talk about representing a bunch of different words in probability, including and, or, at least, at most, not, and we'll touch on more than and less than as well. So it's a big vocab skill. And the reason we touch on these words specifically is because they mean something very different in maths and something more technical and specific than they do in real life. So the first two we're going to talk about are and or. They are the two probably most common ones that people get confused with. So in everyday life, and or mean more ambiguous things. In probability, and means that two things must happen together. So if I say I want a cake that has banana and fish, that means that that cake needs to include banana and it must include fish. Now, if I said or in the same situation, that means that either thing can happen. It doesn't have to be both at once, but it could be. So if I said I want to have a cake that has banana or fish, I could either have a banana cake, a fish cake, or a banana and fish cake, which would be gross. And just to help you understand what that looks like, if we put it here as some Venn diagrams, you can see that the and just has the area between the two colored in because it's only when both happen, whereas the or has a much larger area colored in because it could be both, it could be one, or it could be the other. And if we zoom in a little and we have a look at this set of numbers, we've got this list here. So if I said I wanted to pick out all of the odd numbers and multiples of 5, the only two numbers that are part of this event with and are 5 and 25 because they're the only numbers here that are odd and they are also a multiple of 5 at the same time. So they must be both things at the same time for and. Or is a lot looser. So if we said odd or a multiple of 5, we've got all of the odd numbers and we've got all of the numbers that are multiples of 5. And we've got those two that are both as well. So just anything that meets those two criteria, or one or the other, that's an or. Hopefully we're good so far. Okay, next ones. At least, at most, more than, and less than. And the more you look at this, the more confusing it gets. Try not to think about it too hard because it gets more confusing the more you look at it. So let's look at these two that are matching first, and then we'll jump into the other two. Okay, so we've got the words at least and more than. Now these two are kind of matching, which seems a bit odd because one says least and one says more, and this is where you need to stop thinking too hard. So you think about at least, everything above and including the number. At least 5. If you think about it in a sentence, the easiest way to remember what these words mean is to use it in terms of someone's age. So if you said, that lady over there looks at least 30, you know that she's 30 years old or older. If you keep trying to put it back in a sentence about someone's age, generally you can kind of figure out which one it means. So at least includes the number and is above the number. So if I said at least 4 on a D6 die, a 6-sided die, the numbers could be 4, 5, or 6. 4 is included here. More than almost means the same thing as at least, except it does not include the number. So if I said more than 4 on a D6 die, a 6-sided die, it's going to be 5 and 6. 4 from this previous part is not included because we've said more than, and more than does not include 4. Okay. And we could chuck together another example if we go across, if I'm good at scrolling. So we could say, at least, if we use our word example, at least 30 years old. That's all ages above 30 and 30. Okay, whereas if we said more than 30, that means they are all ages above 30 but not including 30. And that just went very weird. Hooray. But I'm not going to re-record because this is 8 o'clock at night. We're going to keep rolling. Okay, so the next two. These two mean similar things to each other as well. So at most is kind of like at least, but the other way around. And again, if you think about it in terms of ages, if you said this kid is at most 10 years old, they're anything under 10 years old and including 10 years old. That's the important part. So if we said at most 4 on a 6-sided die, you could roll a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Everything up to 4 and including 4. Okay? And if we said less than, it's everything below and not including the number. So again, if you think he must be less than 10 years old, it's going to be every age under 10 and not including 10. So if we said less than 4 on a 6-sided die, it's going to be the numbers 1, 2, and 3, not including that 4. Again, just keep trying to put in a sentence about someone's age and hopefully it should make sense. I know that's a bit of a mean thing to put in a sentence. Don't say it out loud. Just say it in your head. All right, so the last one is probably the most straightforward word, which is the word not. So if we say something is not happening, then you guessed it, it's not happening. If we get more specific about it in probability and we want to get more technical with our definition, here we're including everything in the sample space except for that event. So if I looked at this bag of marbles here and I said, okay, the event not purple is everything in the sample space that isn't purple. So normally the sample space would have some green, some purple, some blue, some yellow. But it's not including the purple ones, so not purple is just blue, green, and yellow. That one's pretty straightforward. Another fancy word for it's the complement, but we'll get into more details about the fancy words for stuff later. That's it from me. Ask your teacher questions if you're stuck. Otherwise, good luck.